You're listening to the second episode of MegAnne's Not a Parent But. And in today's episode, we are going to go into 5 podcast agreements. I fully believe that in every great relationship, it's so beneficial to have some clear boundaries drawn. And so we know how to engage and interact. And these are just kind of some personal promises from me to you. And so in each uh, podcast agreement, I go into it a little bit of explaining how this applies to myself, along with how it applies to you as my community and listeners. So, hope you enjoy. Hey, friends, welcome to MegAnne's Not a Parent But, the podcast hosted by me, MegAnne. And I'm a parenting coach with almost 20 years' experience helping parents raise their children, especially the strong-willed ones. I have been described as the perfect blend of Mary Poppins meets Nanny 911, and I love to help parents drink hot coffee, stop yelling, and learn how to truly enjoy raising their strong-willed children. My goal is by sharing my views, my beliefs, and my tips that I can help empower you to parent more confidently in removing fear-based punishments and learning how to lean into the kind and firm approach of parenting with kindness. So glad to have you here. If you love what you hear, make sure to let me know by taking a screenshot and sharing on Instagram. My handle is Be Kind Coaching, and I love a tag. I like to say that it's my love language, and I want to connect to you. I want to know, what parts did you like? What parts resonate with you? What parts do you feel like everybody needs to hear? I want to know that. So let me know. So make sure to hit subscribe so that you never miss an episode. All right. Without further delay, let's get into today's episode. All right, friends, episode 2. Oh, I'm excited to get this going. I feel like after the first episode, then things just start to flow and roll. And yeah, I'm good. I'm so ready. I'm so excited for the upcoming seasons. Yes, I said that plural because I have 2 seasons mapped out already. But in today's episode, I want to talk about some podcast agreements. I have client agreements with every client that I work with, and it's just some simple guidelines, some simple promises, some set expectations. And I thought it was really important that before we get into talking more about kind of the meat and potatoes of this podcast, that we all have a solid foundation. And I feel so important that this needs to be, in these pre-season episodes, because the things that I talk about are polarizing. The things that will come up, they can be very triggering, and it can be really difficult, and it can be really like, oh my gosh, like these big overwhelming feelings and these really deep ahas. So I find it of immense value that we set really clear boundaries so that we can stay safe within it. So I just have 5 simple podcast agreements, and I think after I explain it, then I'll explain like how it applies to you as the listener, and then for me as the host. Whew. So the first podcast agreement is to stay kind. And I live my life. I branded my business. I branded my body with my tattoo on my left collarbone that says "Be kind in kindness." It's just sort of how I see the world. It's how I see the lens of life. And I'll go into it in a later episode, kind of the difference between niceness and kindness, because it's a huge difference. But how I like to share it is with 3 simple rules: to be kind to myself, to be kind to my family, and to be kind to my community. These are actually the only 3 rules of a nonprofit I started called Kind Club, which is an after-school program. I'm sure you'll learn about that in the future too. But the 3 simple rules of Kind Club is those 3 things. And I like to think of them as circles. So circles, first with myself, to be kind to myself, which means, my inner thoughts, my actions, my reactions, and kind of just how I treat myself. So be kind to myself, be kind to my family. moving that circle outward, inside your house or whoever you deem as your family. Sometimes it's not blood. Sometimes it's just the constructed family, your work family, your life family, your friend family. Be kind to them. Always show up in kindness and in compassion. And then one more circle out is community. And I think it's so beautiful that every time I ask Kind Club about this, they always say anyone you can come in contact with. Like they think community is the whole world. And that's what I love to think too. So these circles kind of go from like ourselves, this really tiny inner circle, and then they just radiate out. And so for you, um, I encourage you to live your life by these 3 rules too, to be kind to yourself, be kind to your family, and be kind to your community. And for me, that's how I promise to work towards living my life, to stay kind and compassionate and non-judgmental. It's something that I work towards each and every day because let me tell you, it is not my like knee-jerk reaction. My personal knee-jerk reaction is to be sarcastic, to be self-deprecating, to be like really negative, and staying positive and staying kind is sort of like this muscle that I've worked year after year after year. So the first agreement, stay kind. The second agreement is to keep an open mind. For you, what this looks like is there will be topics and conversations and ideas that challenge kind of your traditional framework, your maybe the things that you're doing. Maybe you'll hear me tell a story and then you'll be like, oh God, like that's me. Or, oh, like I've seen that happen. Or, oh my gosh, yeah, that happened to me. And those moments, those reactions or triggers, like they can bring up a lot of feelings in the body. They can start to, like, your body can tingle, your heart rate can elevate. You might feel a lot of big emotions like anger or frustration or resentment. And what I encourage you to do and what I expect is that you just keep an open mind. Always be in service of yourself. Rule number 1, be kind to myself. Always be in service of yourself. And if I go into a topic that is too much for you to listen to, take a break, turn it off. This is a podcast. This is meant to educate you and entertain you. This is not a replacement for therapy or any sort of premise like that. So please always, utilize the stop button or the pause button, but also keep an open mind. So become aware of those moments, but also don't run away or stonewall or ignore those moments because those are the teachers. And doing this in my own life has helped perpetuate and launch my own personal growth. So keep an open mind, stay flexible, stay understanding, stay open. And I promise to do the same for you, because I'm sure there will be moments that things that I say or strategies that I talk about or stories that I share. And there are going to be moments that you want to push back. You're going to want to reach out to me and be like, I can't believe you said that, MegAnne. or what you talked about today made me feel so much anger. And I promise to welcome those moments. I promise to stay open and receptive to you and your feedbacks and your comments and your constructive criticism. I'm promising you that I'm not afraid of hearing those things. So please share. Now, I will also pivot back to the first rule of always staying kind. So please, when we work to share anything in our community or with each other or to myself, always do it with the lens of kindness. So always share it with a level of compassion and empathy, or work towards that. Something that I'll share again at a later episode is 2019 for me was, it was such a revolutionary year for me because I was battling an online cyber harasser. And this cyber harasser came at me with such strong negativity that I was propelled to stay open. I was propelled to face all those triggers and uncover those layers and be mindful and look to those as my own teachers. So I share this in saying, I will always welcome that feedback, that opportunity to learn and grow. I request that as you're listening to this podcast, that you always share it with the lens of kindness. All right. So the third agreement is brain break moment. I know I can go way deep and I can get there quickly. So let's take a little pause, a little moment to take a deep breath in and out. And take a moment to let you know that this episode is sponsored by me, MegAnne, and it is brought to you by my amazing parenting program vault. You can find it at my website at bekindcoaching.com. And the parenting vault is chock full of all of my programs and resources to help you gain the confidence, the connection, and the community that you're looking for in helping you raise your kind family. Make sure to go and check it out. And inside you can find my free parenting style quiz called How Kind Is Your Family? So it's 7 easy questions. You can go and take it and find out, are you the too kind parent, the too firm parent, or the kind and firm parent? Just make sure to download the guide so that you can get all of the assets and the liabilities delivered right to your inbox. All right, without further ado, let's take one more deep breath and get back to it. In, out. Let's go. That mistakes are opportunities to learn. Pulling off of keeping an open mind and uncovering those triggers and feeling those triggers and kind of leaning into those a little bit, you might hear things and hear strategies and hear stories, like I said, that ping up those triggers. And it might be, our conditioning to say yeah, that was such a mistake, or, oh, I can't believe I did that, or, oh, yeah, I do that, I'm so wrong. And I want to encourage you to keep that open mind, to become aware that those are opportunities to explore and to become curious about and to almost investigate so that we can grow from them. There is a universal law that states that the universe will give us the same lessons over and over again, and those lessons get louder until we listen. And so I like to teach children. I like to encourage you to look to these mistakes. Look to the mistakes where you yell. Look to the mistakes where you do something that you're like, I don't want to be that person anymore. That's not serving me anymore. Look to those moments and have those mistakes become those opportunities, those teachers, those moments to learn, to look to, so that we can become curious about investigating them, so that we don't continue to make them. And this is such a powerful lesson for us as adults to hold on to, but then to share with the children in our care. Because as soon as we look to those mistakes as opportunities to better ourselves and grow, then children feel safe to do the same. It's not a moment of judgment or self-loathing or a moment to hate on ourselves. That's actually a moment to show up in the lens of kindness for ourselves. And for me, what that means is that I already know I make mistakes every single day. And I'm leaning into this podcast and becoming more vulnerable and open, knowing that I'm going to make mistakes, knowing that there's going to be things that I have to go back and retract or edit or change. And my promise here to you is that I will always do it with the utmost integrity and authenticity, and most important, transparency. I feel very strongly that when mistakes happen, that is an opportunity for us all to learn. And so I vow, as hard as it to be, to show up in integrity and share those moments with you. That's my promise, that as I say mistakes are opportunities, I have to walk the walk. So here I am promising you here that I will. The fourth agreement of this podcast is that there is no bad parent. for you, that should be great news. Like you listening to this podcast, you hearing about, my methods, my strategies, my perspectives, my stories. Um, this doesn't mean that, they were right or they were good and you were bad. This isn't a place of judgment or comparison. This is a moment to say, hey, there's no bad parents. We're here just all living life, doing the best we can. We are all in oneness together and working towards a collective goal of becoming stronger and more connected and more receptive and more kind. So that for you is to say, this isn't a moment to label and beat up on ourselves, because I don't believe that there are bad parents. And for me, I always work to suspend judgment, to stay curious. And for me, I don't believe that there are bad parents. I don't believe that there are parents. I truly believe that we are all always doing the best that we know how, given our skill set, our toolbox within that circumstance. And this comes from, a really eloquent way to think about this is from the 4 agreements. And it's the 4th agreement, always do your best. And in that book, the author talks about how our best at 7 o'clock in the morning is different than our best at 9 p.m. at night. And when we can trust with kindness that we are always in every single situation doing our best, then we can extend that to the children in our care, that when they're tantruming and melting down and being sassy and sticking out their tongues, that in that moment, that is the best that they have to offer. And suspending judgment that they're not the bad kid or that behavior's not bad. That it's just a moment, a mistake, an opportunity to learn and grow from. That one might be my favorite. I think if I could just have a bullhorn that everybody in the world would listen to, that there's no bad people. There's just people who are always doing their best to get connection, to get some sort of feelings of capability and a sense of agency over their life. I mean, I could go spiraling on this, but I won't. Maybe in another episode. All right, the last agreement is community above all. And for you, what that looks like is by becoming a member of my community, by becoming a follower on Instagram or a listener of this podcast or a subscriber on YouTube, any of the ways that you follow me and consume my content. My goal is to build a fierce, strong, connected community. And it will always be, and with everything that I do, is putting the community above all, that we are here to work towards a collective goal of raising a kind family, of being a kind human, of changing our lens to more abundant, positive connection, love. And I will always put that first. So those are my 5 agreements. And I want to know which one, I want to know which one resonated for you. Which one of these agreements are you like, yes? Or which one of these agreements do you want to, look towards or maybe need some accountability around? Let me know. But these are my 5 agreements for you in this podcast and kind of anywhere that you will find me. To recap, it's stay kind, keep an open mind, mistakes are opportunities to learn, there are no bad parents, and community above all. So hope you enjoyed episode 2. On episode 3, I am going to do a broad overview, like eagle eye overview over the method that I have created, the framework that I have created that will be the guiding post to this entire podcast. It is called the Clear method, and you'll learn all about it in the next episode. All right, that's all for now. Bye, friends. All right, friends, you have been listening to MegAnne's Not a Parent, But, the podcast for parents raising the strong-willed. I am so thankful that you have taken a little bit of time out of your busy day to settle in and have a chit chat with me. It's literally my favorite thing to talk about. I could talk about it all the time, so that's why I started this podcast. So thank you so much. If you found value in this podcast, please, please, please do me a favor and take a screenshot and share it with me. You can share it on Instagram. You can share it on Facebook. Just make sure to tag me so that I can see it. Like I said, my love language in episode 1, my love language is gifts of quality time, and a tag on social media or a review of this podcast or any sort of interaction and engagement, man, you're filling my love bucket. So thank you so much. I can't wait to chat and connect to you, and see you next time. Bye, friends.